Thank you for joining us for today's Mastermind. It's 12:03 and we had an appointment at 12 o'clock, so we are going to get this party started. For those of you who are tuning in on Facebook or Zoom, we're going to try to talk loud. Okay. So they can hear us there. Maddie and Kaylee will be monitoring the chat box. So we'll try to address as many questions as we possibly can. So before we get started, of course, most of you guys know me. I'm Leslie Hilbert, the general manager and the interim team leader here at KWRSO. And today we have the amazing Dawn Downing.
Not so much so amazing, but I'm here.
K-Laws extraordinaire, MAO owner, growth partner, and top-ranked solo agent in the Northwest region. And of course, we have our special guest with us today, our team leader candidate, Gerson Mendez, who is exploring Southern Oregon and touring our market center today and getting to know as many of you as possible. He's been in the real estate industry since 2010. He's on track to close 60 units this year with his team, has extensive experience with KW. He's served as an ALC member for years. And so we asked him to sit on our mastermind panel so you can get to know him even better. Are we ready? All right, you guys, today's mastermind topic is on lead generation. We are going to take a different approach to some of the trainings, coaching, experiences that you've had of late, because we are going to be talking about lead generation and finding opportunities. And some of you may be surprised to hear today that we are going to talk about getting back to the basics of lead generation and relationships. This was bred through a conversation that John and I had about an incredible lead generation strategy that he has used that he asked to share with you. So Don, do you want to kick it off on kind of your thoughts on lead gen?
So as an agent, when I started 15 years ago, I was born and raised in the town that I do real estate, and everybody always asked, how do you do it? And I said, I don't know, because it just comes. I know too many people. We had a situation in our office a couple, 3 weeks ago that we had a couple crossfires on some agents that were attacking the same BISBO. And one of the agents came to me and asked me, what do we do? I kind of explained to this agent that, let me show you something that happened to me the first year I got into real estate. And it kind of clicked. And I said, hey, now I can actually tell somebody how something can work if you're a brand new agent. And so I did this diagram on this agent and showed her how this went for me and how I gained so much business from that one contact, and it was amazing. So I went ahead and did it for all my agents right there in Klamath Falls, and I reached out to Leslie and said, hey, I think I'd like to do something like this for you guys if you're interested. So that's where I'm at. I'm here to kind of share my little testimony, I guess, and share with you what I shared with my agents over there. And it kind of takes you back to just normal day-to-day activity with people in your town instead of strictly going on the internet and trying to market yourself through the internet.
So what happened, Don, when you said, hey, can I teach a mastermind? And that was Friday?
Friday.
And I said, how does Monday sound?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to do it this quick, but you know, I just did it a couple, 3 weeks ago. So I said, hey, I can wing this pretty easy because I already have all my notes. So it's really easy for me to just actually decide to, yeah, I can come over on Monday. I have nothing but, well, I got stuff going on, but I made the time, so we're all good.
Awesome. All right, so who's interested in hearing about Don's master lead generation source? Let's do it. Take it away, my friend.
All right. So when this agent came to me and talked to me about, you know, what we do, it was I actually drove by this for sale by owner and seen the property. I knew the property, and I said, that property really belongs to this certain agent in our office. And because of her background and everything, and I told her she had to go after it. Well, a couple other agents in our office went after it because it was on Zillow. So that's where the technology comes in. A lot of your sellers are able to go on Zillow and market their house without paying a commission, and we have to try to see if we can convert that over to a listing. And so that's what two agents in our office did, and this third agent I knew the property should have, it should have been a good property for her to go after. And so I sat down with her and we started out with, and I go, here's a FSBO that I knew about years ago. I mean, my first year in real estate, and I contacted them. And at that time, I knew who the gentleman was. He had no clue who I was, other than I was just a real estate agent that had a client that was going to show his house. And he was actually a commercial real estate appraiser and farm and ranch real estate appraiser. So I knew all about this guy, but had no clue who Don Downing was. And he had actually contacted me, or I contacted him to see if he would cater to me showing his house. He let me do it several times. Every time I walk through, and guys, keep this in mind, negativity spreads about as fast as positive outlook does. Every time I walk through this guy's house, a buyer would say something about how the house was dated. I always said, yeah, but look how clean the house is. And I always was positive about the house, trying to sell the positive aspects of the house. And the seller obviously was being a for sale by owner. He was there listening to all this happening. With me knowing who he was and his background, I figured I would never have a shot at this listing because of who he was and who he knew in the past, and me being a brand new agent. I never went after the listing. So this is kind of a accident that happened, but it was me talking positive about his house that got me the listing. He called me a few weeks later, asked me, hey, can you come out and tell me what my house is worth? And I'm thinking, dude, you're an appraiser. You know what your house is worth. So I went out and actually I told him he was about $20,000 high. He said, list my house. I said, okay, great. And he said, I'm going to tell you the reason I want you to list my house, because everybody that I know in real estate was telling me what I needed to do to my house before it was sellable. You tried to sell my house the way it was and was trying to be positive about it. So keep that in mind, people, that always be positive about whatever you're going out there. Don't try to be negative, because you can lose the job because of that one reason only. And that's because you're negative to somebody's house that they have lived in for 5, 10, even 2 years. So keep that in mind. Anyway, so where's this start at is you got this FSBO here, and I'm successful in selling it. So he was happy with what I did. He gives me a seller that had a hard property to sell. We won't go into that too much of extent. If somebody wants to stay after, I can explain that, how it happened. But he had a property that was really hard to sell. It was an out-of-town agent that brought me the offer on that property after I listed it. We were successful in getting that sold, and how that worked, he was pretty impressed in how that happened. So this guy here referred him over to me because of what I did for him here. And then, so the listing or the buyer's agent on this property here drops down. This guy wants to sell his house here, and he's from out of town. He was from Salem. He says, can I give you a referral for selling this guy's house? And I said, sure. So we referred. So now I get this house here as a referral, and we're successful in that. And this guy here remembers all the problems we had on this one, how we had to get that property sold to him so he can buy and build his dream home up here. So I list his house down here. Now he calls me about a year later and says, hey, I come into some money and I'm thinking about I'm going to retire early and I'm thinking about doing some flips. Great. So that went from down to here, then cross this way. 6 flips this guy bought and sold through me. Okay. All strictly off of this one time right here, I got all this down here. So one of these I sold both sides. That's the only one that I double ended on, which was fantastic. I don't care to double end on them, but hey, I'm not going to pass them up. So then on that one, this guy here is still happy for everything I'm doing. He refers a friend of his. They had a house that was listed, expired out, and they called his buddy and said, hey, can't get our house sold. What do you think? He says, well, give Don Downing a call. He's done a really good job for me. And they said, great. So I go out and I tell them, well, I think you guys were overpriced. Unfortunately, the agent didn't do a good job. They probably tried stealing your listing. It's telling you you were worth more than what you really were. They said, well, we just want to get it sold. So I did everything I could. I got that one actually sold. And now they become a great client. And it spurs over here. They refer me to a property over here that we just listed and got sold just this year, which worked out really well. So then this same guy here that's doing all these flips gets a hold of me and says, hey, I got somebody else. And we get that house listed and it gets sold. And then he calls me up and says, hey, I got somebody else. And then we get that house listed and sold. The break between here and here was probably a couple years. The break between here and here was probably a couple years. You know, I can't tell you the time frame, but this is just kind of showing you guys what happened off of one FSBO that I was positive with clients that had no clue who I was. And that gets me away from the time that I was, when people would ask me, how the heck you are so successful so quick? My answer was always, guys, I've lived here all my life. I know a lot of people. I used to have a furniture store, the whole 9 yards. I tell them, hey, it's because I know a lot of people in town. This guy had no clue who I was other than I just started to become a real estate agent, and I was positive about his house. And that's how I can be a testimonial now on, yeah, actually there is some business that I've done. And anyway, all this here happened because of this one guy. Now this guy here referred me over here, and I did a deal there. He referred me over here. I did a deal here. This guy referred me over here, and I did a deal here. Now, I can't tell you how many times this happened across this way, but I can tell you that just this happened 15 years ago, and I can tell you that I received a call about 3 months ago that this guy referred me over again. And ironically, the guy that made the call to this guy couldn't get nobody to answer his question or answer his phone, and he actually called a appraiser and said, hey, I want to get my house sold. And the guy said, what do you got? He says, well, it's an estate situation. My brother passed away. I need to get it sold. This guy here said, you need to give this guy a call, because he deals with this. He takes care of, he knows exactly what he needs to do through estates. And so I don't have this listing yet, but we've been in contact. I've got them set up on the state, you know, the probate and all that stuff that they need to do.
So you're looking at several years between these referrals.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to keep in touch with these folks? Is there kind of a process, or do you just kind of like wait for the phone to ring? Or,
you know, with us living in the same town, the thing I do, I don't send out letters. I do a dinner at the end of the year, every year.
Fine.
I think I've tried some of you guys on that in the past. Every time I sell something, either it's a referral, this is the greatest thing, is because if somebody refers someone over to me, they get to come to the dinner again. I've got clients that's been to the dinner 4 different times strictly because of referrals. And every year I do this dinner for everything that happened that year. And if it's either a referral, a sale, or a purchase, they get to come to the dinner. And I do that. I don't hand the bottle of wine, or I don't hand the cheese cutting knives, whatever you want to do, because they don't know what they're going to do with that stuff when they move or move in or move out. And a lot of times that stuff ends up someplace where they have no clue. But what I do is I wait for the dust to settle about everything that happened, and I remind them 6 months ago who did that for them. And I have them for a big old dinner, and I do a bunch of prizes and stuff. And that's how I market myself and remind people on who did their business for them. And that's the same guy here. He keeps coming to my dinner because of all this, but then he's going to come to my dinner because of this. And then he has one over here that come out. That's his sister-in-law. I helped her out, and now she's done this for me once or twice. So that's how it kind of happens. Now, have any of these come down? I don't know, because sometimes people don't tell me how they got my name. And that's something that I don't know on a lot of times, but I always tell people when they call me up and say, hey, somebody told me you're the guy to go to, and I said, who's their name? Because I want to invite them to the dinner,
Right.
you know, and that's how I market myself. Or another thing that I do is, you know, living in a small town that I do, you're always out in the public. I always at least go up and acknowledge it. Even if I am running 10 minutes late, I'll go up and say, hey, John, how's it going? Glad to see you. Hey, I got to go, but I just want to say hi to you. And I leave, you know, but don't ever just turn your head on, because they always think, gosh, did I do something wrong to that guy? You know, and that's just me. That's just how I do my things. But this guy's here has started off strictly off of somebody that had no clue who I was. I knew who he was, but I didn't think I'd have any shot in the world. And I guess that's the answer to your question is, don't ever think that you don't have an opportunity at this spot right here. That spot right there is one opportunity that you can get. Just have to make that call or stop by. Some of the times on my for sale by owners, I don't really attack them that much because I got a lot of stuff going on, and most of my business is referrals. I'm very humbled about this, guys, but I'm going to tell you a number. My referral base right now, when I left Coldwell Banker to come to Keller Williams, I was about ready to get my list up for my end of the year party. And I kind of wanted to really see where my business was coming from. And because I really wanted to feel good about my move to Keller Williams. I knew it was going to be the best move I ever made, but I did my numbers, and my numbers were 90% referral based because of this right here. And it's not because of just somebody that I didn't know, but because of a lot of people that I do know. It just keeps dropping down from there. And that was pretty humbling. That's not trying to brag about my referral base, but it's just about meeting people. And I'm going to tell you that probably the biggest referrals I ever get from people are the hardest deals you ever do to keep it together. If this thing has Crisco on its feet, slides right down through to the closing, and everybody forgets who you are. But if you had to go out and dig a hole for a septic, or you had to do something else, or you had to do this, you had to do that, or it was a hard buyer that had tough credit and you had to do everything you could to get them in there, guys, you'll have that client for life, and you'll have everybody that they know for life too, because they'll remember what you did to help them out. And yes, it's usually the toughest deals that you'll ever do will get you the best money in return.
Don, can I ask you a couple clarifying questions?
Sure.
How did you find the original FSBO?
I drove by it. It was out in an area that I lived in, and I knew about it. And that was back when Zillow wouldn't let. Zillow really wasn't around yet at that point in time. It kind of was there, but it was just starting up. So I just knew about the big sign, and I just drove out there and got the phone number and called the guy.
Totally old school.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Totally old school.
Do you think that would work in today's world?
Yeah, it does. People still like the face-to-face reaction. And when I go after a FSBO, I don't call them on the phone. If I decide that I see a house that I think looks pretty nice as far as a FSBO, I'll knock on their door. I'll hand them a business card and say, hey, I see you got your house for sale by owner. I hope that works out great for you. But if you ever decide to list, I want an opportunity to tell you what I can do for you, and hand them my card and walk away. That's how I do it. I picked up a few of them that way. You know, the technology things and these younger agents, they pull up the FSBO. Zillow's really helped younger agents on getting a hold of those, because Zillow lets buyers put their house on the market. And I'm totally against that. I actually get Zillow sales reps call me and say, hey, we'd like you to sign up. 97601 has just come available. We really like to be here. And I says, you know, any company that allows a for sale by owner to compete against me, I said, I'm not giving you my money.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mic drop.
Can't do it.
Okay, so I'm going to ask some more clarifying questions, and I'm going to get some nuggets out of this that I got. How many of you guys work FSBOs? Okay, a few of you. Awesome. Dawn, what would you say your average commission is on a transaction? Is it around 6,000? 7?
Yeah, that's probably about right. Because our median over there is around a little over 200,000 right now. So yeah, probably around $6,000-7,000 commission.
Let's call it 6 because it's been
Okay.
15 years.
Yeah.
So what you just drew was 19 transactions.
Yeah, guaranteed. This is 19 transactions that I know of that came off of this one guy right here.
So 19 transactions times $6,000 is 114,000. Now, how many of you guys want to go knock on a FSBO's door? Right? Let's put this into perspective, right? Like, and that's why that when you want to, that phone feels like it's 10,000 pounds. When you pull up to that door of a FSBO and you're like, do I really have it in me to go and knock on that door? I want you to think about this map that he just laid out for you. Because the truth of the matter is this was done by one relationship. And we don't have a chance at a relationship if we as professionals don't pick up that phone, don't knock on that door, and don't have a conversation with somebody. All of those things had very little to do with technology. So I want to point out a couple of the 5 things that I think you did exceptional. Because this is about lead generation. And sometimes it's about back to basics. Because today we're not talking about cold calling or pounding the pavement or doing those things. What he just did was a roadmap of one relationship. And he said, all I did was this. No. All he did was, number 1, always be positive. Number 2, be different than everyone else. He brought something totally different to the table. Number 3, I think this is one of your superpowers, Don. Be creative. Be a professional problem solver. Sometimes the hardest problem solved will give you the biggest reward because people will trust in you to give any referral. Number 4, give exceptional service. Guys, it is 7 times easier to keep a client that you already have than it is to procure a new one. And the last one is create a system to nurture a continued pipeline. Now, many of you guys might be using a 36 touch campaign. Many of you guys are involved in your communities. Don likes to pretend like he doesn't have a touch campaign, but the truth of the matter is you are active in your community at an exceptional level. I see your stuff on Facebook all the time, right? So he is just running a relationship-based touch campaign in a little different way to serve the needs of his communities. Okay, so those are the 5 nuggets I took out of it. Anybody else grab anything out of that?
I think for me, it's like she was saying, I think the beauty of real estate is that it could be done any way, whichever way you connect with the best with, like we were saying, cold calls could be for sale by owners, could be relationship based, right? It really doesn't matter. I think the system is the same because it started where he got the lead from, but ultimately what brought it was the service and the results that he got for the client, and then continue to ask for business. And like you said, even the models, as far as being able to have an event that you do, that's part of a process, right? That's part of what you do. And ultimately they become your advocates and then continue to want to be a part of what you're doing, right? And yours is even a step above mine. Like we put stuff together, like events, and everybody gets invited. You're like, no referral, no deal this year. It's like, no, I want to be a part of that. I'm going to bring you a referral, right? And that's the cool thing. So it could have been cold calling, could have been for sale by owner, could have been relationship based. I think the process is the same for all of us. It's finding out how we continue to build those relationships that allows us to get the 2, the 3, the 10, the 5 transactions that come from one person that you've been in contact with, that did an awesome job for.
Or 19.
Yeah, or 19, you know.
Well, and the thing about it is I don't know if this person could have done the same thing here, just like this. Sometimes people don't share that with me, you know, and I don't know unless they tell me, but obviously something's happened down this trail that keeps my clients coming back. And I will share with you what's funny about this one here. The very first one that started this whole thing off, it was kind of an odd request, but buyer, this is back in the day when you had the 14-foot TV satellites. The buyer said, I want that gone. And that was part of the transaction. And the seller said, I'm not gonna have time to do that. And I said, dude, I'll bring my tools out and roll my trailer beside it and dump it over my trailer and get out of here within 2 hours. He said, you'll do that for me? Why wouldn't I do that for you? I said, you got too much time that you gotta get out of here. I said, they want your house. I'll do that for you. I'll get out of your way. And so a couple hours of my time that actually really hooked that guy to saying, hey, he's the guy to go to, created all this too. If that's what caused it, hey, great, that's what caused it. Being positive, starting, and then doing this on the backside, created all this, you know, is a simple thing. Now, I know some people might not have the tools or something to do that, but you know, there's contractors out there that you might be able to pay for a couple hours worth of his work and say, hey, you can have the metal, go get it, you know, and just set it up for them. Help them out with things, even if you can't do it. And in our business today, with world guys, it's harder and harder for us to do things for our clients because the legal portion of it keeps us from doing it. Although we can figure out a way of getting around it and getting it done. And if you could take this and glue one here and glue one over here and do that 15 years, that's where my business has been.
That's a career.
Yeah.
I love a piece of what you said is I'm going to go back to this concept because I think now more than ever, you guys, and those of you who've been in my masterminds before, I preach this a lot, is being that professional problem solver, right? Like, and especially now in a world of so much uncertainty and fear, like if we can step in and be that calm in the storm, somebody who can come with solutions, not just more problems, right? And it doesn't mean you have to, you know, break out your tool belt, right? Like, and sometimes we can, trust me, I've been there myself. But remember, in your business, time, energy, and resources. You don't have to be the one with the screwdriver, but you might have a great ally resource, a power partner that can help step in and be your partner in solving these problems. So think creatively about that. If you're sitting in the chair going, no way, I'm gonna go take down a.
Well, none of that has to do with technology. All that has to do with just being there for your clients. One thing that I also bring out that I always keep in mind when I'm in a transaction, and I have clients that always kind of apologize to me on their stress level, and I tell them, I said, calm down, and you remind them, this is your first rodeo. I've been on this bull 30 times. So unless I tell you that we got problems, just hang back and let me get it taken care of. And that really calms them down. When you guys tell them that, hey, remember, this isn't my first rodeo, but it is yours. Just let me take the reins here and let's get it taken care of. And that really calms them down because they're stressed out over this one transaction and they think that theirs is the worst transaction that ever can be. And I said, oh boy, no, I've had worse. You know, so that's what you just have to remind your clients is, and what you have to remember is this is their only transaction they're doing, and this is your 50th, 60th, 5th, 7th. I don't care what it is. It's not the first rodeo you've been on, and let them understand that, you know, this is a rodeo and we just need to all get through it, but I'm there to help you.
And those of you in the room that are in their first year, not to worry, because you're backed by a company that sold lots and lots of real estate and individuals like Don that can help you problem solve some of those things.
And if I can interject, how this got started is because one particular agent is too chicken to go knock on doors.
How do you feel now?
Not as chicken.
I wasn't gonna bring up names.
Yeah. Go finally get in touch with the gal. So anyway, but that was the motivational speech that prompted all of that to say, don't think about that you're not good enough, that you don't know somebody or you're not from here. Just go out there and do it. Just go knock on the door. Just go do it.
The answer is always no if you don't.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
yeah, as kids, we were told no more than we were told yes.
So yeah, just
should be used
find
to
that confidence, even if it's uncomfortable, get past that uncomfortable feeling and just go knock on the door.
Can I actually give you one more kind of mind shift technique that I use for knocking on doors as well? Or making those calls? And that helps is because I know you well enough to know that you would do anything for your clients, right? You were there to represent them at the highest level. Are there enough listings right now for you to sell to your buyers? But didn't you just say you were willing to do anything to help your clients? Right? So sometimes remember the mind shift is around is, hey, I'm not knocking on this door to be a nuisance. I'm actually knocking on this door to be a servant, to be a fiduciary for the clients that I have, because the truth is that they need to buy homes and there might be a seller sitting in that home that really wants to sell, but nobody's been able to solve a problem for him. And maybe that seller just hasn't listed their home yet because they don't know where to go, because they haven't found a realtor who works hard enough, who's going to go knock on another door and help find him the next house.
Guys, remember this, if it is a for sale by owner sign out in front of that house, half the job's already done. They will actually want to sell. It's not knocking on the door on somebody that you don't know if they want to sell or not. You go through a neighborhood, knock on 300 doors looking for one listing, doing that, what they call door knocking. This house actually wants to sell. Now, I don't know how they want to sell yet. Maybe they have had 4 realtors go out there and tell them that, hey, you're worth 250 and they want 300. And that's why they're for sale by owner. Eventually you're going to get them down because they're going to get tired of people calling them and not setting up an appointment because they found out the price of the house. I mean, they'll get tired of showing their own house. I mean, eventually whatever's going to happen, but remember, half your job's already done. They already want to sell the house. They just got to find somebody who can help them sell it. That's half the job's done.
What other questions do you have for Don?
I just want to comment on what he's saying. So if you show up at that for sale by owner, if you've done your homework before you show up, if you know what's for sale in the neighborhood, what just sold and how much, they're much more impressed with you and they're more likely to call you back. So people always say, I can't believe you know so much about this neighborhood. I live in Central Point. It's my job.
Yeah.
So it helps if you do your homework before you show up. Don't just show up.
Yeah,
Take your time and do the homework before you go there.
And that's a true statement. If you can walk the walk and talk, it just shows you impress them because you're not just some other person just wanting to hurry and put their sign out that front door. That brings up a point. I was going after a farm listing one time, and I knew I was going up against 3 other agents. And so I thought, what can I do to impress this guy when he comes in and talks to me? I spent a half an hour on the website and went to the soil sample reports, and I did a complete soil sample, a 50-page report for his property. And I said, this is what I know about your property. And he says, wow. And I said, yeah. I said, I'm going to tell you, this is the kind of people that are going to be trying to buy your house, and this is what we can do to try to market it. And we'll try to put a good price on it once I get out there and talk and look at it. But I was done. The guy, he hired me because I spent 30 minutes ahead of time before he got there and went on there and did that soil sample, just trying to think outside the box on what would somebody else not think of doing to get that listing that might hook this guy, because he had no clue who I was. He was kind of attached to this guy somehow. That's how I got my appointment, but he already knew there's already a couple other farms and ranch agents out there that probably could have got that listing way easier than I did. But I started thinking outside the box. What can I do to hook this guy that nobody else is going to think of doing? And all of a sudden it just came to mind, let's do that soil sample report. Had that 50-page report sitting there, slid it in front of him, had a copy for him to take with him. And that's how I got the listing.
That's good. I mean, to me, that just kind of shows how you go a step above or above what other people are doing.
Just outside the box. Yeah. That's what I look at. It's not so much step above. It's like some people think they guaranteed that listing. Right. And then somebody walks in and does a kabam, and they get the listing.
Item number 2, be different.
Yeah, exactly.
Being a professional sometimes is what is different, right? Like,
because how many other people have called them? So, I mean, I don't know, I struggle with it because when I call them, they really don't want to hear from us. So if you wait, don't bombard them. 15 other agents have called them
Yeah.
and have said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But if you do exactly what he just said and you wait it out a week and they still haven't sold, at this point, they're frustrated. They're tired of the phone ringing. They're tired of the scheduling appointments, making sure the house is clean, dealing with the other agents. At some point, they don't even want to answer your call anymore.
Well, that's a good point. One thing that goes through my mind on that is the first week that thing's listed for sale by owner, I mean, they use Zillow, they're gonna get 20 phone calls because it's hard to find a house and these buyers are out there looking. They're gonna think they're gonna sell that house without your help the first couple weeks because of all the phone calls they're getting, all the promised, hey, it's all gonna happen and you won't need no realtor. They're going to have that false presence of it might be happening. And so they're not going to answer your phone. They're not going to want to talk to you the first week because they already have 6 leads. And, guys, another way you can do this, I picked up listings on for sale by owners this way also, is I'll talk to them. They say, yeah, but we got a couple people that are already looking at it. Great. If you got their name, I'll put them as an exclusion.
Well, the other thing is that, I don't know, if you don't try, just like you said initially, if you don't try and push too much, and then if you just a couple of little questions, oh, great. Who's their lender? Are they pre-approved? Do they have a house to sell? They're like, huh? Nobody told me that. They're like, so just little things, to remind them why they need an agent. And some people aren't comfortable for sale by owner. So maybe they did get activity, maybe they didn't. If they didn't, they want to know why. I'm like, well, a lot of people aren't comfortable buying for sale by owner because they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So,
One comment that you could make to a for sale by owner that might help you get the listing also, I just used not too long ago, it didn't work on this one, but it makes a lot of sense, is that you tell that, actually I did get that call from somebody, why would I list versus go for sale by owner? I go, well, so if you go for sale by owner, you get one buyer come in, you think you've got that guy on board, you go ahead and sign the contract and you get it sold. Although, if you list that house in today's market, you hire one agent to market your house, but as soon as that thing goes in the MLS, you just hired, and we're talking about Clam Falls, you just hired 200 agents that's going to try to sell that house for you. I said, what would you rather have? Would you rather have one offer that came in and didn't know how it's going to work out? Or would you rather have 3 or 4 offers to pick the best offer that's on your house, knowing that we know how to negotiate with that other agent to make sure that offer was the best one, either due to mountain down, due to what kind of loan you're getting, due to what you need to do to your house because that loan ain't going to work on your house. We know all those answers for you. And would you rather look at 4 offers and let me help you negotiate that than just you try and negotiate that one offer that one buyer is willing to cross the line because everybody else is using an agent. So that's a conversation I had when they asked, why would I list over this? I said, would you rather have 4 or 5 offers on the table or just one?
For this, did you know that an average for sale by owner will sell for 9% less than a listed property, and 60% of the time they'll end up in a dispute or litigation? Do you have any additional questions?
right here.
I got average eye sale of 99.9% of my listed sales price. So it seems to me as if I'm going to save you 8%, right? Or whatever your numbers are, right? Like knowing those numbers for your area can be very powerful because the question is, what's in it for me, right? What's in it for me and how are you going to solve the problems?
I think it's just learning the psychology, right? Because you think for sell by owner, the reason 9 times out of 10, it's I don't want to pay a commission or I want to save money. So if you start answering the question with you might actually lose money, or how do you, I think the best way too is just asking the right questions. Yep. Then you'll ask. So when it comes to, like you had mentioned, the qualified buyer, how are you going to know that they're qualified? How are you going to, protect yourself just in case of any lawsuits or anything like that happens? You start putting doubt in their head as far as, when that's the truth. It's not like fake stuff, right? It's the truth of what could happen. And ultimately what it makes them, if they hire an agent to do that, yeah, it gives them a little bit more leverage. Because I did the same thing, and I think it was Bold that has the script on how to ask the right questions while you're walking through the property. And it could be, like you said, coming through service, looking for a buyer, potentially being able to see the house. And like you said, come in with contribution, everything you know about the property in the area, they start to go, maybe I don't have this thing all figured out. So.
And how many of you guys ask what their plans are, right? Like, where are they going? Because sometimes how you win them as a client is help them fix the problems on the other side, right? Like, build that trust in that way, right? Like, well, out of curiosity, when you sell the house, where are you going? Oh, are you going to be buying that property subject to, contingent on, or it's all cash? And they're going to be like, what does that mean? Right? Oh, out of curiosity, why did you choose to sell for sale by owner? Well, because I want a good deal. Well, what does a good deal mean to you? Because for some of my clients, it means that their family's not homeless. Right? That's called the landmine of doubt, because all of a sudden they thought, oh my gosh, how do I get from here to there?
And playing on that situation, I'm going to bring in the Keller Williams thing that really has impressed me more than anything. And one reason why I came to this company is, guys, I cannot believe the referral base out there that we have. And you have a client or for sale by owner selling their house here in town and they're moving to another town. Tell them, what if I can line you up with another agent that works as hard as I do to find you the house that you're moving to? Oh, and then by the way, when you get into that house, what if I set you up with a Keller mortgage and I can save you $5,000-6,000 on your closing costs? So if you use me, you might almost pay for your pay my wages just because I helped you on things that don't cost you a dime. I mean, you can use this stuff for leverage, and it's starting to work. We really started launching Keller Mortgage in Klamath Falls only this spring, and I apologize to Keller Mortgage that I didn't know about this program or didn't really check it out that much when I first joined Keller Williams, but it's a great tool for everybody. And you tell them that I'm offering it to you and it's no cost to anybody. And they're like, wow. So it's, there's a lot of different tools out there that you can convince these people that, hey, on the backside, it's not cost you that much money to sell your house through. In fact, it might make you more money.
Don, that's awesome.
So
You're an impressive force.
just now, average country guy.
Doing great business. All right, Kirsten, you ready to be in the hot seat?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Okay, so lead generation, our topic today. In today's world, what do you think is the most effective way to do lead generation?
I think it's coming from contribution. I think it's a lot of what you talked about with building the relationships, staying in contact with your clients, especially now. I mean, it's kind of hard to look at the world around us right now and go, what's going on in the world, talk to them, see how they're doing, see how life is treating them. And then we have client events at the end of the year that we do. But I think it's just staying connected and being that resource. I like to say when we close on the house, that this isn't the last time you're going to hear from us. It's going to be a continuous relationship between us. And hopefully you understand that we are a resource for you, regardless of it's a painter, mechanic, like window guy, whoever it is in your life, coach, whatever you need. We want you to be able to come to us and we'll see how we can help. So, like you had mentioned, with either doing the work yourself or just having the right resource there, right handyman, the right contractor. So being a resource for your life, for your clients. So, yeah.
And as you bring your real estate team, what percentage of your business comes from database versus other sources?
I would say we're about 85% coming directly from database. There's a few other things that we do. So we do some expires and some for sale by owners. We do an absentee owner kind of program at the beginning of the year as well, like hitting all the absentee owners, seeing if they want to sell this year, seeing what kind of goals they have. And we do some farming, so around their listings. So that's kind of, but I would say the majority of it comes from building a database. And that's why I love the example, because the beauty in real estate, it could be from cold calling, could be from door knocking, could be from just building relationships. The process is going to be the same, and the consistency is the important part of how you are going to connect with them. But it doesn't matter. Like, again, ultimately, there is more business to be had. But if you're like, I'm going to pass out on the phones, like, you can go out and build relationships just the same way, for sale by owners, same thing. You can either call, you can knock. And if that's not your thing, doesn't mean that's the end of the world, to be honest. Like, you go out and you find agents that are doing massive businesses with just relationships, client events. And then you have the opposite, right? You have the cold callers, maybe no database, just year-round calls and 10,000 calls. and they have the same success. So that's the cool part, I think, is you find what makes business your best, like how you feel the best doing it, and then you go out and do that, you know?
I love it. I'm going to repeat some of the nuggets I got from you and see if anybody else got anything. So number one, come from contribution and always going to make it about the people. Number two, be consistent, right? Over time. I love this was be their resource for life, right? Remember, we have to teach people how to treat us. Like the consumers and individuals don't always know how we run our business. Are you telling them I want to be your resource for life? Are you explaining to them that the way I do business is by referral? So that, and this is what it looks like. Because the truth is they don't know that's an expectation until you tell them. And I love this. Find what works for you, right? I've said it 1,000 times. There is no one right way to do real estate. There are many right ways to do real estate. Now, there is a wrong way to do real estate, and that is ethics, right? That is the wrong way. Anything that breaches those ethics. But in regards to the right way, there are many, many, many options of running your business. The question is are you using a lead generation strategy based on the activities that you're putting in with your conversion rates that are going to lead to the number of appointments you need to go on at your conversion rate to take as many listings or sign as many buyers as you need to hit your end goal for the year, right? There is tons of ways we can do it through FSBOs or database or getting more leads from your listings by surrounds, by like doing those door knockings. We've got farming, we've got social media. There's so many different ways to do it. All right, anybody else can pull anything else out of that? Okay.
I just want one thing, what Kirsten was saying, you know, the difference between making, you know, 1,000 calls to somebody you don't know. And I think it depends on, you know, there's a new agent on our team in Bend, like he just moved there. So right now he's focusing on for sale by owners because he doesn't have a sphere there. Right. So he didn't grow up in Bend. So he's having to get business from folks that are raising their hand. And that could be for sale by owners, expireds, circle prospecting, door knocking. And you know, the idea is that he could build a business through those, through those streams, and then if he keeps up with them, then he's got a database eventually. So.
And open houses, we miss them one time.
Open houses too.
I was gonna say open houses. Obviously, this is a different year. I don't know if they're having them here or not, but you know, in California, it's not. But again, there's creative ways to do that. Even you know, you can do that on social media. Hey, I'm gonna do an open house event, and then do it that way.
Yeah,
you know? Like we get a lot, quite a bit just from social media, posting new listings that we have and on the team. And I would say every week you're getting contacts saying, I'm ready to get pre-qualified. I mean, the timing is great. The rates are low. Inventory is low as well. So as a seller, that's good, you know? So I think it's a great time.
Yeah, great.
I love it. I have one more nugget to take away, but before we do that, does anybody else have any questions or thoughts or any lead generation ideas that we didn't cover today?
I just want to say to Nate, because he asked, how does he keep in contact with these people? So just thinking, so with this COVID, be careful door knocking. People aren't going to like that right now, just being honest. We don't want to be that one, you know, that being different, that might not be the way to be different right now. So
not in a socially acceptable way right now.
Yeah, they're not going to like it. They're not going to want to touch your stuff that you leave behind. Open houses, people won't even take a bottle of water anymore. It's kind of weird right now. But so when COVID first started, I made this little, like a little poop emoji and with a little sticker that says shit happens. And I put Jen's got your ass. And I delivered toilet paper to all my clients right before COVID. Remember toilet paper? Mm-hmm. They couldn't find it.
Shortage.
I'm not kidding, Nate. People loved it. They laughed about it. One person texted me and said, "Thank you. I actually went to the store, couldn't get any."
Nice.
So no joke. So I put them all together. I have my assistant deliver them. If they're home, they're home. If they're not, they're not. It's on their doorstep. So then when the fire started, I called anybody that I know in the area that I've sold houses to that were affected. 2 of those families stayed the night at my house. because they were evacuated. One, their house burnt completely to the ground. So since then, they are now cash buyers. They're closing this Friday to get back into a home. And the house that I sold them, it was 3 years ago, the same day we wrote the offer. So anyways, just other ways to, and it has nothing to do with trying to buy a house, sell a house, nothing. But my sphere is like that, about like yours, probably 90% referral. So I don't do cold calling, but just little ideas for Nate. Asking, how do you keep in contact with them?
Well, and that's what we're talking about. The ones that don't have that database, lived there all their life and everything, or has, been in the market for 15 years like myself, you can start here. And then the more you do this, the less you'll have to do it. But to get this started, I don't do that often anymore. Every once in a while, if I'm driving down the road and I see one, yeah, I'll jump out. If it looks like the right house, I'll just say, hey, you got any offers on it yet? No. Hey, if you decide to use an agent, here's my card. Thank you. Have a great day. And I'll just walk away. And then they'll see my sign as I hand them the card. They might see my signs around town, and they'll say, hey, man, that might be the guy to call. But once you do that 4 or 5 times your first year, then you'll start getting enough business that you might not have to do it that often. But to get started, it doesn't take much to do that right away. And then once you get started, then it's like you guys might have more business than you want to do it. You might not want to do that anymore. You might not have to do it anymore. But if I do get slow, yeah, I'll go do it once in a while just to see if I can pick up another, downline. I mean, basically that's what that is. That's a downline.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's what Leslie was saying, but just going, don't think about just the one. Look at what it created. So
Right.
when we're out there thinking
Yeah,
about
once you do this,
how much future business
you
can
get
bring.
busy.
Yeah.
And then you got stuff going on. Well, once all this starts slowing down because all these guys don't have no more friends, then go out and get another one and see what happens with it. And just little by little, just catch them. And, if you're slow and don't have anything to do, it doesn't hurt to go by and just check with one person just here and there, because you've done it once and it was successful. You can't say it can't happen again.
So some of the things I want to touch on that we're seeing across the state of Oregon, right, as far as lead generation practices that are going to happen, and just to kind of touch on some opportunities that are unique to now. So number one, some of you guys are looking at this and going, oh my gosh, how do I compete with that? Because Don created that relationship 15 years ago. Okay, guys, will surprise. People retire and people leave this industry for a whole lot of reasons. And through the course of the last year, the truth is we're going to probably lose quite a few agents in our industry, right? Whether they choose to just no longer be in the industry because they want to retire, right? Or this year has helped them reevaluate, right? So never ever be intimidated by that, because the truth of the matter is that if most agents don't create a legacy plan, a support for their clients, meaning the day they retire, they have no Dawn to call. So I want you guys to think about that when you're reaching out to people. Even if they know other real estate professionals, you should still stay in relationship with them, because we will expect to see attrition. In the last recession, that is how I doubled and tripled my business. I absorbed the database of retiring agents. That is one of the biggest opportunities that you can take right now. Is it anybody in your world that is a real estate professional questioning whether they're going to be in real estate in the next 5 years? You should be in conversation with them today, asking what are they going to do with your database? And can I help service them at the same level you are? Okay, it's a unique opportunity. The next thing that I want to say, guys, is that I'm going to specifically talk about the technology, because the technology is so important, but I want you guys to look at it a little differently. In no way was the technology platform that Keller Williams created meant to replace the relationship that we have with our clients. It was merely meant to enhance the relationship and help systematize a way to stay in touch with it. I promise you, if you create a 36 touch campaign that is 36 digital touches, your database will get smaller because they will be opting out of that level of communication. So remember that the technology is important to help create that consistency over time, and a certain portion of your touches are best done through that technology to help make sure that no matter what happens in your life, that they're still getting loved on and taken care of. Now, I want you to really assess the way that you are reaching out to those people, because the truth of the matter is guys, in a world where a lot of us have been sheltered, right? Like in March, we started using a term that I don't love. And if you guys if you have caught on to it, I don't use it anymore. And the term is social distancing. If I could give you some advice, is remove it from your vocabulary. Because guess what? We asked the world to social distance, and social distancing is exactly what we got. We didn't want them to social distance. We wanted them to spatial distance, right? We want you to still have a relationship with the confines of staying a healthy distance apart. But the problem is they've heard that word social distancing so much, they've gone into their holes and they've pulled their blankets over and they're just tapping out, which means your emails, your mailers, your calls may not be getting through to them. Because Lord knows, anybody been on social media lately? Like it is like a vortex of doom, right? Like I can't spend more than a few seconds on there before I'm like out. It is still very important. So if you're going to be using social media, my last nugget that I want you to leave you with is use targeted social media contacting. You guys, blanket social media contacting is just getting lost in the algorithms, and it's getting lost in the negativity, right? Like they have to scroll through 26 negative things before they see your one positive thing. They just don't get there, right? So utilize command to do targeted Facebook advertising and push it to the top so it's one of the first things that they see instead of the 27th thing that they see. And if somebody likes your stuff on social media, remember that they're jumping off a few minutes later because they're just tired, and send them a personal message, you guys. I cannot express this enough. Pick up the phone and call them. They want to hear your voice. Text them a personal message. It means something to people. Send them a private message. Don't just send everything publicly. Take it back to that I truly care. And I'm not making this post because it does me good to show the world what a caring agent I am. I'm sending you a personal message because I see you're in pain, and I want you to know that I'm here for you as a true friend, and this is how we can take this conversation offline. All right, those are my biggest nuggets in today's world. Any other thoughts, feedback, questions that we need to cover today, you guys?
Good stuff.
Jeff Wilson.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who want to know what's going on for the rest of the week, we've had lots of questions. We are postponing the all-agent team meeting that was set for Thursday because there is a LARC class happening. And I want to make sure, especially for those of you who are renewing soon, which I just got my notice today, that you have an opportunity and don't have to choose between valuable classes. We're going to postpone that. I believe it's to the 27th. Maddie will get the updated date and information out on that. For those of you who want to travel to Grants Pass, we're going to do a happy hour there this afternoon so Gerson can meet our Grants Pass agents as well. We'll be around here for a little while to interact, mingle, and hang out. And other than that, for those of you who have not seen the message, business planning starts tomorrow with the new MREA models. And it is tomorrow and Wednesday from 9 to 12, and it is $10. Like typically this class is like $200 and you have to travel to do it. Guys, it's an awesome opportunity to see what's coming out with the new MREA 2, and that will be happening the next 2 days. And for those of you who love the Master Series, our next Master Series speaker is officially Ben Kinney, so that one will be very exciting on the 28th. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.